Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. It has been a very, very positive week around here. The Easter Bunny was good to me over the weekend. The Easter Bunny from State Fair brought me over some delicious blackened chicken and some crab. I stopped at Faidley's. I saw Damie. I brought a crab cake home. I made that on Sunday night after the Orioles you swept away the weekend. I've had a heck of a weekend, but I'm about to get a green screen here, Dom. We're about to do the Recon here, and our friends at El Guapo gave me a green shirt. So the green screen's going to make it impossible for me to wear this, but I thought, I'm going to go Easter look for you today to honor our sponsors that all in my belly. It's why I probably look a little chunky monkey today. And that's cool because I probably did have a little bit of that over the weekend as well. Some mac and cheese, which you have to get if you go to Faidley's, and you have to get the Brussels sprouts if you go to a State Fair. And I did. How are you? Happy spring to you. I saw you doing things, quite frankly, made me a little nervous, Don. I saw like people in your kitchen and stuff. I hope everybody's got shots, but I saw you had a pretty normal Easter for the most part, right?
Absolutely remarkable. And again, we did, recognizing that as the experts continue to tell us, Dr. Fauci and others, we're not there yet. In recognition of that, we did with the family eat outside. We did have only a couple of people at a table, so we spatially distanced. But to have the extended family together again, we were talking about Linda puts together this yearly photo book every year, and last year's Easter photos were pretty sad. There really weren't any Easter photos. So the Easter photos will be back. I noticed
Is
from
there any
friends.
family you look at and think like, man, that's a hell of a family? Because most people look at your family and, from all accounts, your family has all tragedies and stories and divorces and triumphs and sad. You've had all of that, your family, but like, like you love family more than anybody I know that loves family, literally.
Yeah,
I wonder if you admire somebody else's love of their family.
yeah, there are many, many. If I started to list them, I would offend somebody by leaving them out. It's interesting, Nestor, that you say. I always remind folks that when they'll say that, your family, it's large and you get together, and I do remind them we have the same ups and downs as every family. We have the same successes, the same failures. But I am going. It's boy, this is Recon on steroids, isn't it? Because you just touched a nerve. At some point, I'm going to write extensively about where I think that feeling about family came from for both myself and my brother. And if somebody put me on a couch with Dr. Phil, uh, I think probably a lot of that comes from the fact that my dad left, came back from Korea when I was 3 and my brother was 1, and left for the West Coast and never came back. So we grew up with a single mom when nobody had single moms. I always look at my mother. That's why she to me is one of the most remarkable human beings ever on the planet. That she raised two sort of wild and crazy boys back in the early 50s when we were youngsters, when really there weren't. As I look around and looked in my class, today, if my grandchildren look in their class, for better or worse, a lot of their pals have moms and dads who are divorced. It's just not unusual. Unfortunately, that's who we
It
are
was a
today.
secret society back then,
Mike and I have talked about it. I can think of one other boy that we knew, one other family that we knew. Other than that, can't think of any. Now, again, we were fortunate and we're outliers, and I have written about this, so people often know this about me.
See,
We were
outlier. I'm reading tipping points. See
well, there
that?
you go.
We're perfect.
We were outliers in the sense that we had multiple uncles on both sides of our family that stepped in and filled that dad void. Plus, as I said, this amazing mom who went from game to game to game. It was remarkable. And the other thing that made us outliers, and again, it's a credit to my mom, and it'll be Mother's Day before long, and this probably sparks me to write a reminiscence of her. For whatever reason, she made a decision, and I'm guessing it had to do with she put her boys in front of her. And I never had that discussion with her, and I wish I had. But she made a decision to stay close to my dad's family, to my dad's parents, so my grandparents, and my dad's brothers and sisters, who were incredible aunts and uncles, and continue to be incredible aunts and uncles to Mike and me. So, not many moms, when they've been deserted by their husband with a 3-year old and a 1-year old who heads to the West Coast to never return, make a decision. I think the boys and I need to remain connected to his family. So that was pretty remarkable. That's sort of off track for the recon, but
No, but if
it is
it
sort
is
of
about
Easter.
family, and I guess even bringing it full circle, the Zimmerman thing over the weekend for the Orioles, when local kids did well, whether it's Jim Traber, Bill Ripken, certainly Cal Ripken, my side of the town, Mike Bilecki. I had Denny Nagel on last week. I had an extended
We're gonna
conversation.
have the clerics on. We've reached out to Adam and his dad.
What on Easter Sunday to have a kid pitch like that at Fenway Park, to have his friends and family go up there in Loyola gear, and it sounded to me like they were heckling the Red Sox fans from the beginning, especially when it got to be 9, 10, 11 to nothing, whatever it was. But it touches home to you because, like, Kolaric well. Zimmerman, I was with Damie Hahn at Fadley's on Friday. I picked up crab cakes. I dropped a couple of crab cakes and some carrot slaw and whatnot off to Chris Pike. I got a double order of mac and cheese for me. Still got a little left for the championship game on Monday night. And she said, that kid was in my house when he was a kid. I've known him his whole life. And then you text me, Marty Gary, who we're talking about doing different things with crab and True Blue and eating Maryland crab cakes. We'll be talking more about that. But, anyone in the Loyola family, anybody in Ellicott City, anybody in extended local baseball here or played against them, Catholicly, whatever it is, what a story. I mean, hell of a story. And
Well, you
I
mentioned
seems like a good kid, right?
you mentioned Marty and Ann Gary. Marty is, again, it's Smaltimore, right? Personified. Marty is my brother's mother-in-law. So Bridget, Mike's wife, her brother Marty, uh, his wife's sister is Zimmerman's mom. So to be watching Masson
That's
and
Baltimore.
to watch those images, watch them cheering. I actually, took a photo of the TV and sent it to Marty during the game. But I mean, I'm sure, they're on cloud nine. It was a great story, Nestor. And, on top of it, you and I have watched sports. I mean, I've watched it forever, and we're going to have Ron Cassie on later this week. I can't wait. Who's written an incredible article about the Orioles coming back to town in 1954. You certainly weren't around, but at least in my brain, I think I remember as a 4-year-old, 1954. Certainly, the mom that I talk about started taking me to games that early. But I think, and react to this, Nestor. I was telling folks yesterday when we're outside, we don't normally timestamp these things, but we're doing this. We're actually doing this episode on Easter Monday, the day after Easter Sunday. When we were outside talking about the game, we were talking about sports adages or sports, sort of superstitions in sports or things that people say about sports. I said, I think the one that is the most true of all is that you are never as good as you look when you're winning, and you're never as bad as you look when you're losing. And I think that was on full display at Fenway Park, the first series of the season. Do we think the Orioles are going to win more than 81 games? I love the Orioles. I don't think they're going to win more than 81 games, but you wouldn't know that from the weekend, right?
I don't think they're going to win more than 71 games, but no, you would not know that from the weekend. I think it spoke to me about the Red Sox, and I went down this river, and I've had this chat with Marty Conway and with Luke Jones, and I'm sure I'll have it with others later in the week. But and what expectations of opening day are for those who go. I guess my wife's been in Florida for a couple of weeks doing all sorts of stuff, and I sort of fancied myself, well, that'll be a day where I'll get out. I'll go out on opening day, and I'll go to the game, and I guess in my own naive way, right? I forget what a quarter of a crowd would look like, or whatever the 4,000 people they let into Fenway Park, and it happened all weekend, Don, right? Because I watched a lot of basketball last 2 weekends, and they keep the court tight, and you don't really see fans, and you don't miss the band so much, especially if you're not really paying attention. You're just watching it a little bit. But this past weekend, you start watching, and you're watching baseball in an empty stadium where, like, Marty Gary's sitting there, with nobody around him. He's got a whole section to himself, right? And it didn't have the energy, and the game was kind of long, and they're throwing a one hitter, but the game's kind of long, and there's not energy like that goes with baseball, that goes with football. And football, they pipe the sound in. I'll say this for Boston and for me, and for opening day, I thought, I'm probably not going to go to opening day. It's probably going to be okay that I'm not going to opening day. There aren't a lot of tickets, and everything I go to opening day for is hanging out with people and seeing people and waving hello to people and seeing people I haven't seen, people I won't see all year. It's like Preakness was like that. And I guess I'm going to miss out this year a little bit. And I guess that was part of the take. And the other part was this, and this hit me. I was watching that incredible Gonzaga UCLA game on.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, that was a
but
hell
go
of a
ahead.
game. But early in the game, they scan the crowd, and this is when the game's 25-22. It was, it was a close game the whole way, but and they had a section, and I took a screenshot of it. I didn't share it. I went to share it, and I just said, nah, I don't feel like it. But there was a dude in the middle of all the cutouts, and there were like these two good-looking college girls wearing UCLA stuff in the middle of a bunch of other cutouts. But the section wasn't any different than Fenway Park. There were like 8 people in it, and they're on the roof of a football stadium. John Feinstein was tweeting about like how far away he was, and he couldn't see anything. And I'm like, well, John, they've been doing this for 30 years in domes, dude. Like it was like this in the Kingdom in 1979. But either way, it really spoke to me. Like, I want to go to Merriweather. I want to have a beer. I want to go to a concert. I want to like do all that stuff. I want to go to a ball game. I don't know that I want to go like this. I'll watch it on TV. It looked a little lonely in Boston, even though we were kicking ass. It didn't look like it was fun. You know what I mean?
Well, I can't wait. I'm a little different than that. I told
Are
my
you going?
grandson. No, I'm not going. I told you the other day we're going to wait. I think until June 1st.
No, you just said I can't wait, and now you're telling me.
Oh
you're
no.
going
Well,
to wait.
what I mean is I'm talking about getting back, but it's still going to be small crowds June 1st. I guess what I'm saying is I can't wait to get back, regardless of the size of the crowds. I said to my grandsons yesterday. I said I can't wait. Jake loves him some big boogs. He doesn't like the regular boogs. He likes the double meat boogs. He's like every other growing teenager. And I don't care if there's a couple of people in my section. There's something,
Why are you waiting to go back? I mean, you've
I
gotten the
just think
vaccine. Why wouldn't you wear a mask and just go down to the game? If it's nice and it's 72 degrees, why wouldn't you and I do that together?
Oh, I would probably go with you if you wanted to go. When I say us, we typically go as a group, typically go with my grandsons and other family members. And they've made some decisions since they haven't been vaccinated yet. And,
I would want to go see this kid Zimmerman pitch. Because,
I'll go.
That's what my dad would say. My dad would say, let's go see that kid from Loyola pitch,
hey, I'm all in. You want to go? Linda and I'll run out there.
It gives me a reason to go. Like, sure. That's how I feel about it.
We'd love to do that.
And I think opening day is a tougher ticket. Then after that, it becomes like,
right.
If you want to go, you go.
Let's do it. And you know what I was struck by, and I mentioned earlier, and again, it's small sample size, but I'm willing. I'll ride this wave until we get spanked in Yankee Stadium or whatever is about to happen. But what I'm what I was struck by, I'm a Mike Elias fan. I'm a Sid Medall fan. I loved the analytics book. What was it? Astro Ball or whatever it was called. And I think we're beginning to see the fruits of that labor. And I was struck, Nestor. We're going to have Ron Cassie on, as we said, later this week. And as I was rereading the article in Baltimore Magazine, getting ready for Ron on 1954, talked about the important moment in Oriole history where they hired Paul Richards, and we'll do that in detail with Ron, but began to talk about the Oriole way. And I actually read this after my post after opening day when Means looked like, the second coming of I don't know, Scotty McGregor. I guess that was a Scotty McGregor a game as we've had in a long, long time. And I posted that. So you're telling me that pitching and defense still works, and that way back in 1954, the Orioles made a decision under the leadership of Paul Richards to pursue pitching and defense. And over the weekend, and I think we're beginning to see that in the Elias era, I was thinking with the guys we've had plodding around in the outfield the past few years, when we've been able to run out of an outfield the first 3 days of Austin Hayes in left, Cedric Mullins in center, and Anthony Santander in right, three guys who are potentially Gold Glove outfielders. I thought, man, been, been a long time since we've seen guys that don't circle balls and you hold your breath to see if the ball's going to pop out of the glove. All the craziness that's going on, and I think you begin to see it, and the way that Elias plugged some holes, the way he, not that this guy's going to be an all-star, but the plugging in of Michael Franco at the end, the foresight to take a gamble on Matt Harvey. I don't know about you, Nestor. Actually, this is a question for you. I expected to see Matt Harvey, and again, small sample size, throwing the ball 88, 89, moving it around a little bit. Matt Harvey hit 94, 95. Now, I know everybody throws mid 90s nowadays, but did you expect Harvey to be throwing 94, 95?
Well, I think the issue is going to be where is he in June and July. I think that's going to be
Right.
an issue for a lot of the pitching in baseball when last year was truncated, right? I mean, they didn't get an opportunity to see it. As I said, they did the Orioles a favor. The plague was, they said the beauties of the plague or the beauties of COVID. We'll give a shout out to Jackie McCusker at the Nacho Mamas for that. But, part of it's the Orioles didn't take 100 beatings last year. And, part of the developmental part of what they do, the teaching part of what they do, video, science, spin rate, tons of video and angle work for all of these pitchers and how they're gripping balls, real not fundamental, beyond fundamental, breaking down every single nuance of the game, the science part of it. And Luke and I, you can find that out at Baltimore Positive, had a long conversation about that and what that's done for John Means and what that's done for Cedric Mullins, but what that also hasn't done for, a bunch of other guys who didn't make the grade. And I've said this, and this should speak to you. You'll appreciate this because you met me in 1982 as my guidance counselor, and you wanted me to be educated. You wanted me to be well-rounded. Little did you know the little chunky monkey that you met back in 1982, you'd be doing a radio show with called Baltimore Positive all these years later. But you want people to be educated. You want well-rounded people. It really feels to me like if you're going to play for the Orioles, the science part of it, Matt Harvey wanting to come and saying, hey, they're doing things in a way that's going to allow me to maybe still pitch when I'm 35 years old because I'm holding the ball the right way, or all of these things. The Mets just had some guy to, rub chewing tobacco and Old Spice on it and told, because he was doing it the way Buck Showalter did it in 1982 in the Bronx. And that's not the way they do it anymore. And the fact that the Orioles are doing it that way and having success with a Mullins and a Means and some of these guys that were around during Duquette, or Santander, who was sort of discovered by Duquette as a Rule 5 guy, that that would attract a certain kind, not knuckleheads, not guys that Aubrey Huff, see ball, hit ball, moron, Aubrey Huff, and it's been well played out what a moron is on the internet. But it is not a game for morons. And quite frankly, and Luke and I have had this conversation. And as much as you love me as a student, and somewhere I found my old transcripts from Dundalk High in the '80s, algebra was not my thing, right? Like trigonometry, and like I never went in that direction. My dear friend Ed Mullen and I were discussing crab cakes last week. I'm not STEMmy. I was more verbal, and all whatever that is. But the math part of this, if you're attracted to that, a Messina, a Palmer, a Mike Flanagan, deep thinking guys that wanted to play angles and numbers and spin rate. And Mark Williamson was one of those kind of guys. Just that it's not going to be an old boys game anymore. It's going to be a game about science. And that's either attractive or it's unattractive to me for what it's done to the game with shifts and the friggin' 4-hour game on Sunday. Like it's just
No, they've got to,
they,
Nestor. They've
they,
got to.
they, they have problems with the game. But what I'm saying from a science standpoint, they're going to attract smarter players here who want to improve and are willing and are willing to use science to do that, because
Yeah.
you have to be kind of smart to buy into all this, to pay attention to it.
Well, there's no doubt, and it appeals to a certain player. They have to, and I'm glad to see they're experimenting in the low minors with a couple of rule changes this year. The one that I would put in right away is I would mandate that two infielders be on each side of second base. I think all the shifting and all has made, as you said, it's made the game in some sense. I understand why you think I'm a dinosaur. I get that the game has to do something to appeal to a new generation of fans. It's gotten it's
Well, they
too
canceled an
it's
All-Star game in Atlanta, which I'll get you into politics on that in a moment.
yeah, we'll get into that. But before we leave the good news of the opening series, if there's a better story, and boy, this is personal to you because you've lived it, than Trey Mancini. I mean, you talk about a guy, you can just see it in his face. Not that he wasn't a good kid before, not that he didn't love the game before, but my goodness, you can just sense that it's all in perspective. It's like, as he said, hey guys, a year ago, I wasn't sure I was going to live. Playing baseball again was the furthest thing from my mind. And to watch, I keep saying Nestor, and boy, I'm struck by it. I'm struck by it every day by some of the stupidity that and nastiness that consumes people. And I keep saying we've just got to be better. So on that front, I was so heartened by watching the response of the Boston fans and the Boston players. And I assume Trey's going to get that wherever he goes. And I thought, okay, there we go. We can be better. Maybe it takes a poor young 27-year-older to get cancer and beat it to make us, but it's in there. It's in us. I saw this, you mentioned politics. I saw this stupid thing online where a bunch of people didn't like some outfit that the first lady wore. And I thought, I am so done. And this is across party lines. I didn't like it when Democrats would criticize the former first lady, Melania Trump, over some shit. Stop. Who cares what somebody's wearing? Let's focus on what brings us together. Let's focus on trying to understand our neighbors. Let's stop the silly screaming and trying to put people and pigeonhole people into certain boxes. Let's try to celebrate humanity. Yesterday we never talk religion on here, but yesterday was also the first day that Linda and I were able to journey back into our church, which happens to be Catonsville United Methodist Church, whatever faith or atheist, whatever you are, it doesn't really matter. Everybody gets their spiritual nurturing from someplace. But we sat outside. Everybody brought their own chairs, and we had 10 to 12 feet between every chair. And it wasn't by any sense a normal service for an Easter Sunday. But I did comment during the service. I leaned over to Linda and I said, there's just something good about seeing a community come together again. And there are all kinds of beliefs, I guarantee you, in that church community. I know that church community, and people are all over the place. But for that 45, 50 minutes, there was no politics. There was no anger. There was nobody screaming about the pandemic. It was just people coming together to do something communal. And we have to do more of that. So that's my sort of pontificating for today. Hey, before we're coming up on our time, before we get away, how about this Final Four? Holy mackerel. Mother McCree.
Well, I mean,
you ever seen anything like it?
The game on Saturday night was sort of an instant classic, right? So you hope for a couple of those every year, whatever they are, right? Those memorable things you'll talk about. I mean, I think of Keith Smart shots and the Valvano and Sidney Lowe and like the whole deal, right? So
well, let me tell you which ones I thought. That's great. You brought two more to mind. I thought of, because I'm much older. I'm gonna give people a little history lesson. Go back, read about the 1974 Maryland Lefty Driesell
the North Carolina
NC State game 103-100 in overtime. It's the game, and I always have to remind my grandchildren, at that time, when UCLA was winning all of those championships under John Wooden, there were only 16 teams in the tournament. So you were in the Sweet 16 if you made the tournament. Maryland losing that game, because most pundits thought Maryland was the second best team in the nation to David Thompson's NC State team, Tom Burleson's NC State team.
Well, it really begat the modern tournament.
They went to 32 teams the following year. So
they also knew that they could make more money.
Well, sure, but that game, the outcry from that game took them from 16 to 32. And then the other game that I know you'll remember very, very well. If I say to you 1999.
I have no idea what game you're talking
about.
If
I say to you Grant Hill to Christian Laettner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
The length of the court pass against Kentucky, 104-103. Laettner catches it right. Foul line extended, turns without waiting, and buries the jump shot.
I was at Straps in the Parkville Square DJing that night for my man Johnny Kutz, the Godfather. So there's a shout out to the late, great Godfather. So, yeah. I remember. Well, you remember where you were when it happened, right? Like that's
amazing.
That's when those things happen. So the Gonzaga, UCLA
not 99. I said
well.
99, not 99. Way before 99. I gave you the wrong year. I was thinking they had a reunion.
No wonder I got it wrong.
Yeah. I gave you the wrong year.
It was probably more like 93.
1992, actually.
2 or 3? Okay, 2.
Yeah,
okay.
1992. So
I just know where I was. I was at Straps when that happened.
Yeah, 1992. Grant Hill, Christian Laettner. So that's what happened. And you and I, occasionally we're like blind squirrels. Occasionally we get it right. I think you and I thought, as this tournament evolved, we thought if it's not Baylor and it's not Gonzaga, there's going to be an upset along the way. Because I think as the tournament started to play out, you and I thought Baylor and Gonzaga were a step above. And my brother,
I thought Illinois was better than they were. So
clearly. Well, that was early on. That's what I said. As it began to evolve, we thought the Big Ten was better. And my brother,
Gonzaga's the best team. Right? I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I think so. I think that's what we're going to find out. And my brother, the legendary basketball coach, probably should be in the high school Hall of Fame if there is such a thing, pointed out. He said, every year you're going to win one game that you aren't supposed to win. And Gonzaga was fortunate that game was in the semifinals.
I got the legendary Mike Mohler on Talk Some Basketball.
Oh, man. He'll break it down. Hey, listen, a
Is
lot
he
going on
bored
the
these days,
Recon.
just sitting around watching basketball? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, exactly. No,
Well,
he's
good.
trying
I'll
to.
get a
He's
Guinness with
trying
him, and
it.
we'll do
He's yeah.
that. That's
Listen,
good.
he would be a great guest. He's helping to run the BMW Classic that's coming. We're gonna have the county executive and the PGA Tour folks on.
Here's a tribute to your
Later.
brother. His first sponsorship, the first sponsorship ever of my show was Moosehead Beer, and they had green, like it was green like this. The moose is loose, and I still drink it and enjoy it immensely. It's probably my favorite
There
beverage
you go.
in the world, due to your
There you
brother
go.
Mike Mohler, who coached a lot
So
of basketball.
heck of a lot of topics that we didn't get to. We'll get to them next week on
We
the
didn't get to
Recon.
John Angelos and Brandon Scott getting together to bring the All-Star game to Baltimore. Marty Conway and I did a whole dissertation on that, so you can go have at that. I know you love
Uh,
Marty, so we
well,
did discuss that.
I do love that. We've got former Lieutenant Governor Michael Steele coming on. As I said, we've got Ron Cassie coming on
Gubernatorial
later.
candidate? Did you say gubernatorial candidate, Michael
Well,
Steele?
we'll ask him that. We'll throw that out to him and see what he
We
has
had
to
Wes
say
Moore
about
last
that.
week, and
But
you waited to the end. You were like afraid to ask him.
so we worked it up, man. We you know you got to work up to these things. So we've got all kinds of outstanding things happening out there. We'll be talking a lot of politics next week
I'm the
on the
Velvet
Recon.
Hammer. I just bring it, man.
We'll be we'll be going over all this on the Recon next week.
Don Moeller, you can find him out at Baltimore Positive. You can find him on the front porch. You can find him on Twitter, certainly on Facebook, getting mouthy, especially for all things. I can't believe I didn't lure him into a Georgia, John Angelos, Brandon Scott. By next week, they'll place the All-Star game in Colorado or Milwaukee. We won't
You
have
know,
it to talk about, but that's okay. That's
I'm
fine.
just feeling so good with the Orioles off to this start. We're heading to Yankee Stadium. Hopefully by next week, when we talk, we're still above 500. Go O's, go Mike
Moeller's
Elias.
feeling so good about the Orioles, he wants to go back to 1954 with Ron Cassie from Baltimore Magazine. We'll do
All right.
that. By the way, love the Max Weiss conversation last week, too. Next time Max comes on, I'm making her play the cello. I've decided that. I've got my El Guapo shirt on. CC, El Guapo in Catonsville. Get on over there. I was at State Fair that they had the blackened. It was unbelievable. Blackened chicken with the crab on top, and they serve it over the Brussels sprouts. Oh, blew my mind how good
Hey,
it was.
Nestor, I'm glad you mentioned uh, that experience from State Fair. You know, they were so successful over the past year by these family meals. They now have decided. They now have you can go to their
Every night.
website. Every night they're offering these family meals. You feed your whole family of
Evan told
four.
me I need to do the Danish ribs night. That's what he told me. He said next time Danish ribs are on,
They're
and
incredible.
obviously the lamb. The lamb they do
The lamb shank. The lamb
probably
shank's off
Mother's
the
Day or
chart.
like that. They'll do that. And all right, so look, I'm totally game, and it's just difficult because I come over, I'm like, do I want Mexican? See, and I mean, look at me, I love Mexican food, or do I want State Fair? So I go to State Fair the other day. I sit at the bar, and it's socially distanced. It's safe. It's cool. Nice breeze blowing in, and they're all welcoming back. Same as Fadley's. They were like, they call me Mr. Nestor at Fadley's, and I'm like, please don't call me that. But they don't call me Mr. in Catonsville. They call me a lot of things in Catonsville. They don't call me Mr. But so he comes up. He's like, "You're having the chicken and waffles, aren't you?" I'm like, "No." I said no, and I messed up. I wound up ordering. Have you had the potato skins with the sauerkraut and the corned beef? So it's like
Oh,
a Reuben.
the Reuben skins. Absolutely. I don't think there's a thing I haven't had. They're phenomenal. Last week we did El Guapo. That was incredible. So all kinds of good things happening. Hey, before we go, Nestor, and we do have to run, because you're such a Springsteen fan, I am going to encourage people to jump on Spotify. If they have not listened to Renegades
I'm
with
saving it. Like
oh
my
my
wife and I
goodness.
were going to do it together. How long are the episodes?
I want to say the first one's about an hour, but
And
it
they're
is
audio. They're
literally
not video.
audio. It's literally President Obama.
So they
And
don't set up a camera. You just have to listen to it.
well, I
Okay.
not that I'm aware of.
I seen
I
pictures
listen.
of it. I just didn't know if it was a
Yeah, I
video or
listened
whether it was
while I was
audio.
walking,
Okay.
so I don't think it's video.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, it's President Obama and the boss sitting in the boss's barn. Where all the guitars, where they record all the music, and they just talk about life. I came back the first day and I said to Linda, I can't describe to
Was it
you.
obvious they don't know each other well when they sit down?
No, it's actually the obvious. It's actually the other, which is a
That they
cool
have spent
story.
time together?
They did not know each other well
I
when the
always know
president.
this with you when you have a guest on, and you know with me when I'm with people that
Right.
that I've spent personal time with. It's obvious. It really is, right?
Well, actually, yes, absolutely. And what is very cool about this is they tell the story of not knowing each other very well in the beginning.
Oh, see,
O-
okay. All right, you're
Obama
reeling me
think,
in, Moeller. You're
yeah,
giving me something else I'm
Obama
going to have to
thinking,
do.
Obama thinking Bruce is very shy and not easy to talk to. And then I'll leave you with this one
How
tidbit, which
long
will,
is the whole thing? How many hours is it
I
in
don't
there?
know. That's a great
How
question because
how long have you been in?
I'm finishing up episode 1. That's
Dude,
how
you're
excited
skinny
I
as
am.
a rail. You're walking around Catonsville. The weather's about to get good. You're
Well,
gonna
I
be
just
walking around
started. I
Annapolis.
just discovered it. Here's my last tidbit.
When you get to the end of it, let me know whether
All
it's
right.
3 hours or six,
All
because
right.
like I may save this. We're planning a Nag's Head trip. I may save it, you know what I
Oh,
mean, for the road. You know what I mean? Like
perfect.
I'm trying to figure out what this is how I do things, Don.
Perfect.
Tell me how long
Perfect
it's gonna
for
take me and let me figure out where it fits or if it fits.
perfect for the car. One of my favorite moments because all of us husbands can relate to this. There's this moment. Evidently, Michelle Obama and Patty Scalia. How do you say her last name,
Scalfa.
Nestor?
Scalfa.
Scalfa. Patty Scalfa hit it off right away, and they've become good buds. So they're having dinner. Bruce and Patty are having dinner with the president and the first lady, and vice versa. And the president said, "But Bruce, you're killing me." He said because inevitably after these dinners on the way home, Michelle will be saying to me, "Now, do you see how well Bruce listens to Patty and how he pays attention and how attentive he is? You need to pay more attention to Bruce." And the president goes, "Come on, babe." He says he's 10 years older than I am. He's had more practice. So that's the gist. That's the tone of the thing. It's
All right.
spectacular.
Well, you've reeled me in, Moeller, once again with your
Yeah.
PR.
Renegades,
Very, very
Spotify,
good. All right,
Bruce
good enough.
Springsteen,
This is what
President
we do on the
Obama.
Recon. We try to get together and read the room, as
All
we say
righty.
with Marty Conway. All right, find Don out on the interweb. Find me, Nasty at WNST.net. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat. All of our sponsors and our friends at Wise Markets for these wise conversations. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking Baltimore positive.